All right. Happy Monday. Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back, Missy of
Thank you for having
Schedulicity.
me.
If you don't know Missy, go back and listen to a few episodes ago where we introduced her. So check that out first and then come back here. And today we're talking about boundaries, I guess, and which ties into, I think, systems and how you go about even finding clients in the first place, because finding the right clients makes life easier than having to reverse engineer everything.
Agreed.
100%. And then going about the clients finding you the right way also
Great point.
helps your boundaries as well. It's like double whammy.
For sure. So your Thanksgiving was good?
My Thanksgiving was unique, would be the word that I'm going to use. We have a daughter. I have two girls. My youngest is doing, I'm just going to say this for the masses because I was unfamiliar with this, Pop Warner football.
Gotcha.
Sure.
Okay, everybody's like, yes. So she cheers for Pop Warner, and they do sideline cheer, and they also compete. This is our first year doing it. And luckily for us, they compete over Thanksgiving every year. So we got to drive to Orlando and have a practice on Thanksgiving morning. So much fun. And then compete the next day.
Okay.
So we are rowdy up in here on Thanksgiving.
Wow.
The things we do for our kids.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
What about you all?
Pretty standard issue.
Yeah, we host and everybody comes to us.
We host. When we had kids, we saw the opportunity and we seized it. And we were like, we're hosting. It's just easier for us because kids, when in reality, they're in like car seats. You can just take them anywhere. It's not a big deal.
But we hosted even
Nobody
But
would
we
say
like
no.
the
forever.
I like having control over it and
Yeah.
not having to travel around. So
And Todd's a good cook, so that helps.
we do a little bit of traveling
Ooh.
for Christmas Eve, but not even really now because Jen's mom lives
In town.
like in town. Yeah. All right, let's dive into
Here we are, the holidays.
Yeah, happy holidays.
Which is why we need to talk about boundaries.
Which is why our brains are like, what'd you do for Thanksgiving? Oh, I played football. Let's talk about something related to salons. But let's jump in with boundaries. Where do we want to start? There's so many.
We're
Yeah.
going to talk all about how I don't have very many. I try all the time and then I epically fail.
So,
And this time of the year, I really fail.
So why don't we see if this will be fun? Why don't we see if Missy has advice for Jen? Because my advice for Jen never works. That could be interesting for
I
people.
love this game.
What are some of your non-boundaries, Jen?
I go in early, I stay late, I take too many clients.
Hold on. By going early, she means her phone is going off at what, 5, 6? Sometimes.
Maybe like 7.
Okay, so 7 a.m. clients are already blasting.
Yeah.
And Jen, am I allowed to say this?
Yeah.
Okay, I don't want to throw her under the bus.
I don't think I'm going to be, I think there's people that are like me. I'm not the only one.
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah, I love this. Like, let's keep it rolling.
So Jen has a really difficult time not responding in like milliseconds to people.
Correct.
So she could be in the middle of doing something at home, but if the phone dings, she's got, I never talk about text messaging as the phone dinging, but here we are. So her phone, lights up or whatever, and she's booking clients now or moving clients and doing things that I think can certainly wait until, normal business hours.
And remind you, we have a staff of like 13, so I'm doing it for myself and for them because when anything comes in, I do it all right away.
What is the phone? Here, I'm leaning in
good,
this conversation. I'm here. Let's all lean in, everybody. So is the phone number for the salon your cell phone?
No. And we have... So my clients from back in the day when I used to work for myself have my
boundary number 1.
Yep. And then also what I do, which is probably really bad, if clients call and leave voicemails at the salon, I don't feel like dealing with like phone tag. So I just text them from my cell phone. I'm like, you can just tell me when you want to come in and I'll book it rather than you calling and then I'm calling you back and then you're calling. And I don't know, that just doesn't work for me.
I see validity to all of this. I would have a first question. Let's go. My first question of this actually has less to do with the actual boundary and more to do with the source of why this behavior exists. So my first question would be, is the quick response from a customer service level, or is it because how long have you been independent? Like, I mean, obviously you all own your own salon, but previously.
Probably 18 years, probably. Majority of my career.
Okay, same. So how much of it is the thought that if the clients don't get booked, that's lost revenue?
Oh yeah, probably all from that.
Yeah, that's what
especially when it comes to the staff, because my clientele is like, I've known them, probably most of them for like 23 years. But when it comes from a staff of somebody's new trying to get in, I'm like, we got to get them in right away. We got to, and in this day and age, if you put a Facebook post up, you're getting like 50 salons that want you. So it's like, okay, who can get them first?
I think that this is, I think, an interesting version of what the boundary conversation looks like, because we can all say, boundaries and protect yourself, but there is a different level when you are a self-employed entrepreneur. That's just the bottom line, because nobody's signing your paycheck. Mm-hmm. So there is that background knowledge that is virtually impossible, in my opinion, to ditch, of knowing the cause and effect of, if a client wants to get in, that is our revenue. How do we source that correctly? Obviously, we could talk, Jen, about putting tons of systems in place, but I think it's important it's important for this conversation for us to start off with that it's not that Jen's just like, oh, I got to text people back. Like, she's thinking from a larger, broader perspective of an entrepreneur, that phone call equals revenue. Mm-hmm.
And luckily, in today's world and with the marketing, Todd has kind of put us in to get in front of people more on an online presence. Majority of our bookings now are coming from online booking. So a few years back, I was even more of a spaz. But because a lot of our business is now driven through online, I'm able to be a little less spazzy.
Yeah, but sometimes even when you have online booking, there's questions. Mm-hmm. Like a client's like, oh, I'm in there. What do I need to book for? Or I think that's a common, that's actually something that I've noticed, is that people think that they toggle on online booking and the problem is solved. And there are steps. Yes, that problem is solved. Obviously, it's my job to say that problem is solved. But as a service provider myself, I would say you also need to make sure that you're front loading that information to make that actual appointment booking as seamless as possible for your boundaries. It doesn't just like happen. You have to let a client know exactly what that process looks like, how they know what to book, what they need to do. I joke that our brains turn off, especially if your clients are coming from an online state. We're all sort of in this online, like, I don't even know, trance maybe when we're scrolling or online or doing whatever it is that we're doing. And so how do we actually facilitate making it easy for somebody who's living in that trance state to get on our books? And that requires going above and beyond with laying out exactly what that looks like, so that they're not texting you at 7:00 in the morning.
Correct.
I like all that, but where I think Jen struggles, it's her existing clients.
Yes.
So clients booking online would not have your cell phone number, would they?
They would not. Although I do have clients that have my cell phone number and do book online.
No, but what I'm saying is a new client that has never been to our salon ever.
True. They would just
not likely have your cell phone number. Now, I know my cell phone number is out there for various reasons or whatever, and I'm sure you can get people's cell phone numbers, but generally speaking, I don't think you have like these people that are going to book an appointment and then become a detective and find your cell phone number.
You never know.
So
yeah. True.
What we're talking about is the people that, and I'm trying to tread lightly because you're sitting within shot here. But these people
Wait, it might make it more fun. Just say what you mean what you say. Let's go. Let's go.
This would make good video content for YouTube for sure.
I am aware of the flaws that I have.
These are clients that are loyal clients of many, many years who have been allowed to sort of creep in, and they're by no means like bad people, but when you give somebody some sort of freedom, like give an inch, take the whole ruler type of thing, that holds up here. So our clients aren't thinking, and they're like, oh, I got to get my kids off to the bus, but I'll text Jen first because they're thinking I want to get my hair done, whatever, they're excited. That's fine, but I don't think you need to immediately respond, because we also have kids to get off to the bus, or you also have to go to the doctor or the grocery store or whatever.
Right.
And I think that when you allow that to sort of trickle in little by little, before you know it, there's no boundary and your business is just 24 hours a day and you're stressed out and you're like, let's sell this mother. You know what I mean? So
yeah,
just kind of my life.
Yeah, you go, it's up and down. The people that I met with on Monday were like, on Monday, I love my salon. On Tuesday, I am a keystroke away from listing it for sale. On Wednesday, I'm going to rent a chair by myself. On Thursday, I'm throwing a party for my staff because I realize how awesome they are. By Friday, it's the weekend. And I'm like, that's
kind of how it does go.
And I think that's normal. And that's why I was excited when Missy and Kelly, I think when we first drafted these sort of list of topics, I saw boundaries and I was like, this is an awesome one because I don't think there are many boundaries in the hair industry unless people are black and white. So I think it boils down to maybe what you're okay with, and it's fine. But I do think you need boundaries somewhere.
So majority of this year, by the way, I did have the boundary of not checking my phone until the kids got on the bus. Somewhere, I don't know where I lapsed and I clearly need therapy. And I went back on that. But I did have, like, that's where that was. I wouldn't answer anybody. I wouldn't check it. I don't even let the text pop up on my phone. So I have no business doing anything with my phone. And then I don't know where I'm at today because my boundaries all just fell down. But for majority of the year, I was doing pretty good with it. And then same thing at night. If the salon was open, so we were available, we used Slack to communicate. I sort of had my phone available if the staff needed something. And then we close at 8, phone's off, like whatever. And I don't know how I just fell on top of myself, which is probably what a lot of people do.
100%. And here's the other thing I have to say to this, because I think sometimes first of all, 2 things, and this is a me thing and a Schedulicity thing. There is no one way to run your business, period. So when you've got someone out there that's like boundaries and do it exactly this way and whatever, that is so lovely to think that there is this one size fits all boundary, but that is
not reality,
not true and not real, because we are dealing with different personality types. You know, my personality type might be different than yours, Jen. And then we're dealing with different family situations. Do you have your kids full time? Are you a split household where you're sharing kids? So sometimes you can be on, sometimes you can't. There's so many different versions of what a personal life of a service provider looks like that we can't say, this is the boundary, just do it. I will also go one step further to say, when we go in and make these policies or boundaries or whatever for ourselves, that it's almost feels sometimes like we're doing this crash diet where it's like, well, I only eat raw vegetables every day and I'm never going to let myself do anything else. And then 2 minutes later, you're ordering Little Caesars because you
and eating in the closet because so no one will know.
Exactly. I've got my fun dip in the corner, so I do think I will go back to this, and probably any business conversation I have ever is moderation. I learned that from my pop-up at a very young age. He says everything in moderation, and I truly believe that translates into a successful pattern if we're talking raw vegetables and fun dip or boundaries. One of the beautiful things I think about what we do is that when you've worked as hard as you have, Jen, to be an independent service pro for 18 years, and now you own a salon, if you want to answer your phone at 7:30 in the morning because that client, that makes you happy to be able to service that client like that in that moment, you've earned that right. You've earned a right to do that. Now it's the fact that if you're doing that to the point where you want to burn your business to the ground and then sell it tomorrow, then we have a problem. But the one size fits all boundaries is where I have a hard stop in a conversation because it's just not realistic.
Love it.
One of the issues that we run into, since we're having therapy right now.
I love this. This is
great.
my favorite. Let's go. I've got my coffee.
One of the things we run into is we put into place Slack to use for our team. And when you don't have it black and white, because I do agree that things in moderation and lines are always going to get blurred and there's always going to be sometimes, right? But what happens with our staff is they will bypass Slack, go directly to Jen, and then I have no idea what they're talking about or what anybody's talking about because it didn't go through the proper channels. And the reason we set those channels up were not to make it more difficult, but was to make it easier and more seamless. I don't have a specific example, but there will be something that people are talking about or some event or whatever, and they go directly to Jen, which is totally fine. My feelings aren't hurt, but then I don't have a way of knowing what the hell Jen is talking about when she comes home because I'm not in the chain. You know what I mean? So that's one of the things that we've noticed is like, I do think it needs to be black and white. So it's, especially with
in that case,
stuff that's silly, like people have time off and I'm like, why is this person's schedule blocked off? I don't know if they just went to Jen. It's just as easy to go into Slack than it is to send a text. You know, in my opinion, an app is an app, so it's whatever. Right. And I think it just keeps everything more organized.
I agree. And I do think with procedures and protocol, boundaries and procedures and protocol, they exist in unison, but aren't necessarily the same. So this is where we get into, and I would say you could go into this with that client perspective of texting you in the morning as well. This is where we would get into what I would like to call as a redirection of behavior. So, and this can translate to a client when they're texting you instead of using your online booking link. This can translate to a staff member who's not following, a Slack protocol. A very simple, hey, thanks so much for texting me this. Can you please put this question in Slack so that we can keep the thread? That's the response.
Yeah.
Instead of carrying on with the conversation in the text.
I think, Jen, can you repeat what you just said, Jen?
I said that's easy. I do that.
You do not do that.
Prove it.
And the same for, look, they're hugging. The same for a client who's texting you first thing in the morning. I am good at boundaries with my phone at one point. I'm very much an all or nothing. This is why moderation would be my keyword all the time, because I'm either the respond right away or you'll never hear back from me. There's zero in between, like zero. So I had to come up with ways where I could, again, redirect clients and say, actually, this is how, for a quick response, this is what you can do. I always phrase it in a way where it's to their benefit. Hey, thanks so much. Totally fine that you have to rebook. I actually have it saved in my notes. Totally fine that you have to rebook. Here's the link. You can actually go in and do it yourself. That's going to be quicker than us playing phone tag. Make it seem like it's actually of benefit to the client, even though we all know it's because you freaking don't want to text back and forth. But we sounded really good with redirecting.
Well, and part of it is just literally how you sound. If you sound like you're being helpful, people take that in a different way than if you're barking at them, right? And in a text, that can come through kind of wonky either way. But if you sort of go, which Todd and I talk about this often, like that help first mentality, people respond a lot better and it diffuses the situation. They're like, oh, what a great idea. Thank you. Like you're helping me when you're really helping both of you.
And maybe even really just helping yourself.
Yeah, for sure. But you make them feel warm and fuzzy about it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We have this conversation all of the time. Actually, I'm teaching my 15-year-old how to do this with altercations and interactions, which falls in, boundaries are an interaction that potentially can result in altercation.
Yeah.
So they are something that can be approached very similarly. And the thing that I keep teaching her, when you're trying to address a situation, you cannot tell the other person what they should be feeling or doing.
Right.
Because that's inviting a response back in contradiction. All you can say is from your side of the street forward. So instead of, so that you don't have to text me at 7:30 in the morning because I'm getting my kids off to school and that ticks me off. And what is wrong with you? It's, hey, I'm not always great about being able to respond back and forth. I've actually put this into place in my booking process. Here's the link. This is going to get you on the books way faster than us playing phone tag. And then you can save it for later. Hope that helps. Let me know if you have any questions.
Yeah, that's great.
I always go back to the response and what is an appropriate time period. So we have on our website, and if people reach out through email, generally it's me that they contact. Lately, we've been getting a bunch of wedding requests for next year, which is great. But like I just said,
amazing.
Like I just said, yeah, thank you. So, but like I just said, that's for next year. So I have on there, I'll get back to you within 48 hours because there is nothing pressing about, October 2024 that we need to deal with right this second.
Excuse me, sir. Have you ever been a bride?
No,
It's pressing.
Yeah.
Everything
I agree.
is pressing. The menu for the appetizer is pressing for it.
All right.
18-month rollout.
Yeah.
So true.
So
just kidding. Keep going.
No. I know.
But even letting them know when the response will get to them so that they understand there's a window of you getting to them.
I think where Jen struggles a lot is if somebody texts, it's not that they're necessarily expecting a reply that minute. It just happens to be when they thought of it. But you think, maybe not you, Jen, specifically, but a lot of people think if I don't reply immediately, this person's canceling. I also do their mom's hair. She's going to cancel. Everyone's leaving me. My clients are leaving me.
I don't have that mindset, but I do think that's a normal mindset for
not
people.
Anymore, but I think you've been there before.
Mine is more, I want to get it off my plate so I don't have to think about it and have it like hanging over my head. That's really what that comes from. And then I'll forget. That happens too.
I completely get that. And I think there are two sides to that. The other side to that, to your point, is I see a lot of reactive communication on the interwebs from stylists getting upset with clients for not having boundaries. And you just said a very key thing, that someone texting at 7:30 in the morning is almost never that they're expecting a response in that moment. It's that's when they were thinking about it. And consumer behavior in 99.999% of everything else allows us to make decisions on our behalf at any time of the day. That's just the reality of what it is now. So when they're texting you at 7:30 in the morning, they're not like, oh, I want you to stop everything you're doing. Now, if someone is in that mindset, I would venture to say we might need to think a little bit about if that client's the right fit for you. That's a whole other story than boundaries. But let's talk about just aligning with our client expectations. But in that this is the most key point of this story, I feel like right here. Someone is reaching out to you because that's when they thought about it. So that's their side of the street. What are we going to do for our side of the street? And for you, Jen, I would recommend maybe spending some time coming up with some scripts where you can kind of go through proactively and let every client who has your phone number know that the most effective way to communicate with you and book with you is to follow XYZ protocol, which ideally would not be your phone number.
Gotcha.
And you're going to do that before they actually reach out. You're going to go through and reach out to them.
I love it. I think a lot of people listening are probably they're like, wow, I can let people know before I get, but that. So, and another thing is in a lot of industries, people will jump in before they're ready. So I was at meeting our local distributor here in the Northeast, Sullivan Beauty. They had a get together for like their top salons and sort of like a round table, and it was really cool. And
pause. That means you were one of the top salons.
Ew. Here we are.
Let's not roll past that.
So it was actually called Elite Salon.
It was
round table.
Sounds even fancier now.
It does sound fancy.
Don't leave that out of the equation.
But when we were talking, some of the salons were saying, like, even they dove in before they realized what was going on or that they needed sort of like a business skill set. And I want people listening because I see a lot of people dive into independent stylists. That's what their sort of goal is. They come out of school and they think, I have to get to independent as fast as possible. Now, that I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that because I don't decide other people's goals. What I will say, though, is because I've talked to some of the people, doing hair is not going to build a business skill set. Building a business is going to build your business skill set. So, Missy, when you brought up being proactive and building these systems, if you're listening right now and you're like struggling with this stuff, take that first step, build that first system, do something. I don't care what it is. It could be like creating your cleaning list or creating your opening checklist. But when you avoid that stuff and you think, I'm just going to do hair and that will get me by, in my opinion, and from what I've seen, you're setting yourself up for failure.
100%. And this is where, to your point, you get to choose your own adventure within this industry. If what you truly want to do is hair and leave for the day, there are brilliant commission salon owners that are doing the business system things on the back end for you to be able to do that. If you want full control over what your actual business looks like, independent is a great option for you, but then you actually do have to take personal ownership for that business side, or it is a fast track to burnout, confusion, and overwhelm, because business does require the business side of things. When my husband and I owned two Jimmy John's, we call that our MBA in just
what is
business
Jimmy John's
in general. Jimmy John's is a sub franchise.
Oh, no way.
It started in Chicago, Illinois.
Okay.
And yes, and then we purchased two existing ones. That's what brought us to South Florida. And we joke and literally say that owning a franchise taught us. I thought I knew business because I had been an independent service provider previously, but basically what a franchise does is says, this is how corporate store operates. And we have to the most minute detail systemize every single thing that we have so that this can be replicated in states and locations outside of us. And then we have to set a standard where someone's going to go in and make sure that you're following those systems. So not only are they created, you have a checks and balances on your shoulder as well. So Jimmy John's has something called a DBL, a daily beautification list. And that was literally a list for how you approached cleaning the store from corporate that came down.
That's cool.
And I'm not saying you need to freaking make a way that you Windex your mirrors necessarily, unless that brings you joy. But seeing, and I feel like we hit on this in our previous conversation as well, business practices are pretty universal. So when we can learn things that exist outside of our industry and apply them to our craft and our day-to-day, it actually is going to it's going to free up real estate in our brain to be more creative and enjoy our clients more.
Agreed.
When we have these things in place for us, operating for us, if you will.
I love it. I love systems because systems just give us these sort of barriers to play within. That's how Jen and I talk about it. We call it a playbook. It's just our staff handbook. And if you can play within these sort of walls that we give you,
you can be on our team.
And you can respect, you can be on our team. You have to start there. And you can sort of respect what we're doing and our mission and our core values, then you can be creative within that. So a lot of issues, I think, come from in business when you don't have the systems, and the systems can be like living documents. They don't, like you picked on the Windex thing. Like if you want to have a Windex, like this is how we do it. And, we don't use Windex. We use the 409 glass clean. I don't care. But when you find that that's not working, you should adjust it and refine it and figure out. And so having systems gives you your direction.
It gives you direction. And I somehow always take this back to, for whatever reason, and I don't know why this is, it's sometimes hard, and I don't want to make a blanket statement, but what I have noticed with the people that I've taught and coached is it's hard for us to maybe make those decisions because it's actually going to be better for ourselves.
Right.
Sometimes, but if we can maybe rephrase it as, I'm going to tell you this is actually better for your client and going to make your business run more effectively and going to actually show a better experience for them, that's sometimes where the mindset shift can happen, where it's like, forget that you're losing your mind at 10 o'clock at night because you're trying to reply to clients or whatever. But let's actually switch that then and say, this is actually creating a better experience for your clients as a whole. When we have communication systems in place, these are the boundaries we're talking about, are broadly about communication. When we have those set as standards and very easy to operate protocols, their experience is better because they're not thinking, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about this right now, my clientele right now, I'm still behind the chair 2 days a week. It's handpicked. It's people that have been with me for a very long time. And so we're on a very different sort of like client stylist journey together. So when they have to reach out to me and they think it might be bothering me, I'm getting I'm so sorry. I have to, whatever. I have to reach out. I hate to bother you right now. And I'm thinking to myself, oh man, I've put them in a position where they feel guilty that they have to rearrange something about their appointment. I need to fix that for them.
Sure.
Yeah.
Instead of being like, why are they reaching out to me at 7:30? It's not I actually need to create something where they're not put in that position. That's a better experience for them.
Mm-hmm.
Sure. This is a service industry.
Yeah.
So taking care of your clients that's a good thing. That's something that we talk about a lot as well, because there's so much overlap here too, because I want to talk a little bit about taking these policies and where they should live and how to convey those to clients and potential clients.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So actually, if you're saying everywhere, I think we might disagree on this. So
okay.
I'll just dive in then.
I love this. Let's go.
Yeah. So this is where real stuff happens, is when there's some sort of disagreement. And I've been waiting to have a disagreement with someone on this show since we started. Thank you. Here we are. And you might be like, oh no, I didn't.
Got my coffee.
And if you're like, oh no, I didn't think of that one, I'm going to be bummed out, but we'll disagree about something later.
Now that I'm a little competitive, so now that you said that we disagree,
we're just going to disagree just because.
I'm going to change my mind on the fly.
So, perfect. So, we see all the passive aggressive posts on Instagram about cancellation policies and things like that. I don't think that's necessarily a professional approach. I don't think that's where you should be posting your policies necessarily. I think that's reactive, I would say, for most people. And I think that the person that you're talking to probably is not even seeing that message. That's my 2 cents on that. I think
correct.
I think you're
crap. We don't disagree.
Yeah, it is, because I agree. I think it comes from a reactive place, and I think generally that's where you should just be reaching out to that one client or two that you're butthurt about or salty, and just be like, hey, this is the policy. This is what I need to convey to you, rather than this out to everybody. And all the clients that are loyal to you are probably like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Was that at me? And it's not even at the right person.
No. And so we've been criticized before for not having a cancellation policy. We do have a cancellation policy. It is to deal with the individual client.
Right.
Because people are individuals, and just because I don't have a blanket, I'm charging someone 50% before this time and 72 hours and 48. I don't want to do all that math in percents. Like that just, to me, is sort of like, it doesn't need to exist if you're attracting the right clients.
Right.
If you're okay with letting clients go. I've had clients that I found out have, no-showed one of our barbers like 3 times in a row, and then they book with me. And I'm like, okay, with me, they don't get 3 times in a row. And then they no-show me, and I just blacklist them. And if they ever come in, I'll have the conversation, hey, you can't book online and then not show up. And then maybe if the person...
Can you blacklist them on your booking app?
Yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can.
Can you on Schedulicity?
Schedulicity
yes,
can?
You
yes.
can.
Okay, perfect.
You can give star ratings.
I like it.
Oh, cool. Mm-hmm. Like Uber.
Yes, it's exactly like Uber. Keep going. I'm into this because I have things to contribute, but I want you to finish your thought.
I think that was really it. It's just that we have individual conversations. So if you have somebody that no-showed you, my first thing is, we're in the customer service industry here. Are we sure that person's okay? Do they need a ride? Do they get a flat tire? Like, as we talked about earlier, when they text you in the morning, it's because that's what is on their mind. If I, for example, and I've done this, rolled my car over on the highway, my first instinct is not going to be, I better text my stylist or barber to cancel my appointment.
It might be somebody's, though.
I agree.
It's definitely somebody's. Jen has clients that would do that.
Yeah, they would.
Guarantee. Sorry, Jen, I'm in traction. Can't make it today.
Oh, God.
No, but I think that we have to, as an industry, and we don't have to. This is what makes discussion fun. My 2 cents would be to deal with it on an individual basis, and then you're just continuing to develop relationships with the right people and weed out the wrong people. That's all I have.
I think there's a mindset too that we convey to our staff more so that Todd and I have, which is for them when they do have that last minute cancellation or a no-show, it's such a small percentage of the clientele that they do see. And it's easy to hyper focus on the ones that did that to you rather than focus on everyone else that is showing up. And we will sometimes speak to the value of a client long term. So you can go ahead and charge them half that service. They're never coming back. But the value of the long term, if you don't and you realize shit happened to them that day, it does happen. You know, if it continues to happen, now we're in a different ballgame. But one time, I don't think the client needs to be stressed out about their hair appointment. Like I said, if it's a habitual thing, way different conversation. Even if it's 2 in a row, I'm gonna talk to that client now gets a call. But it's to that client, not to all the clients under our roof. I have a lot of loyal people for 23 years. And out of all of that, if one time they forgot about me or didn't show up or canceled last minute, there is no way in hell I am charging them. It's just not happening because the value of them to me and their loyalty is worth more than that one appointment. And I realize that I may have to do the same to them in the future. So it's okay.
And that's a huge part of it too, is have you done the math? We've done the math with our staff. And we actually haven't done this exercise in a while, so we should. But have you looked at what is your gold standard? So do you have clients for 5 years? Do you have clients for 10 years? Do you have 20-year? I'm sure you guys have 20-year clients. The value of that client over 20 years, what is that versus 50% of your 2-hour, 3-hour appointment on Saturday that they missed? I get it. I get that the immediate, hit to the wallet, but if you're going to be in business, you're going to be in business. That's going to happen. You're going to have highs, you're going to have lows. Talk to any business, talk to the massive companies. They have stocks. Stocks go up and down. That's the whole point.
It is universal. It's very interesting that we can get it. And I think this is probably in general, we're always zoomed in and more hyper-focused on the arena that we're in. But there are things that happen daily. And again, I'm gonna circle it back to Jimmy John's because it's a really good, I love to use the examples from Jimmy John's because I'm like, bro, it was a sub shop and we're doing hair and we're talking about the same problems. That means business is universal. Let's go.
Yes.
There would be days where we would run out of bread because we have 3 different ways to serve a sandwich. And then somebody would come in and we've maybe not sold the quantity that we would have thought of wheat. We've oversold the white bread. Somebody only wants white bread. And so, but it's going to be another hour because it's baked in store. So you lose that profit because somebody came in. There's lost profit. That's part of what happens with operating business. You can strong arm yourself to have things built up. Like you said, you're going to focus on your client relationships. This is I would say part of your business plan is actually your relationship with your clients. That's part of your ideal customer profile. We call it an ICP, is a client that's going to want to be with you and operate like this and be in sort of this symbiotic relationship with their stylist versus potentially another salon. Their ICP might be more of a turn and burn. Just get as many as you can in as quick as you can. And we're going to roll at that rate. Those are 2 different business plans. I wouldn't say one is right or wrong. I would say one would be my preference versus the other. But again, this is where we get into paying attention to what's happening around us and thinking that we have to structure it to fit ours. Maybe that policy that you're watching happening is coming from more of a turn and burn type establishment versus somebody who's trying to create a symbiotic lifetime relationship with their client. You can't structure your policies to match that. Likely, I will go back to what I said about what we were about to get in a fight about, but we didn't.
I'm a little bummed now, but that's okay.
Well, I'm still going to kind of disagree with you.
Okay.
So I believe that when we create brand messaging, so your copy that is your standards across whatever it is that you do, I do think in today's day and age, because we don't know, I don't know what your metrics are, but I do know that a fair amount of clients, the usual journey is that they're cross-checking your multiple digital footprints when they're trying to find a new salon or even understand what the rules are. I think that it is important for the customer journey for it to be living anywhere where their footprint might hit. So on your booking app, that can live in your FAQs or even just in your description. On your website, you can have, so your cancellation policy is unique, right? I would still have it on there. I would have an actual, do you have that on your website?
Yes.
Okay, cool. So I would then take that and I would have highlights on your Instagram, and I would have highlighted sections on your profile that say cancellation policy, rebook policy, how to book with us. All of those things, that information is living there. So it's not I'm just going to bring this to your attention in a reactive, rude way on a story and tell you how crappy everybody is. But that information is living there for the client to easily access it without you.
I get that. Yeah. I think the story thing is what I see often of the reaction. And I would challenge anybody
and so I don't remember off the top of my head, but while we're here, I wish I had someone specific to call out, but I do see these big companies like your, online gurus and your hair accounts that just sort of are like self-proclaimed, like, listen to us, this is the best industry practices. And they're posting to do stuff like that. And I'm like, that doesn't. And so what happens is you're getting a lot of stylists that are posting this. When you cancel on your stylist, they're losing, if they're getting one a week, they're losing X amount over the course of the year or whatever. And I'm like, who is that for? First of all, you're talking to stylists. There's nobody that's scrolling through that's not in the hair industry that's on your page, first of all. And I just think that it sends the wrong message, because now you have a bunch of independent stylists that have not figured out their business, like we said before, don't even know who they are or what they want or what sort of clients they want, but they know that they should be telling clients off passive aggressively with these, you take food from my family's mouth. I just think that looks crazy. If you're going to talk about having a professionalized industry, which is another whole topic we shouldn't get into today, but people are like,
that was literally where I was heading with that. I'm like, you guys.
Okay, we're not going to fight. We're not going to fight, apparently.
We're not fighting. Yeah, I'm actually kind of disappointed about the not fighting part. But yes, to that professionalized industry point, we have let's just say in our area where I am in South Florida, we have a pretty large presence of people that work in finance. You physically can't have a social media, just so you know, when you're in a lot of those like high, because there are actual compliance officers. Like my father-in-law works in finance and physically can't. Like he couldn't go and create a cute little infographic about what he does because of compliance. And so sometimes when we're using, I'm just going to try to find the most polite way to say this.
Just say it. People need to hear it.
I think when we're using the words like, would you ever do that to your lawyer? Would you ever ask your doctor for that? Would you ever whatever? I would say, well, no, but is your lawyer, doctor, or dentist posting that on their social media?
Right.
Either. This is a two-way street. So we have to,
ding.
And again, if that's how you're going to operate your business, like attracts like.
Right. Understand what you're putting out there, right?
If you're going to go and be guns blazing for, like on your stories, this is what happened to me, it's going to come back.
Attract that. Yeah.
I have a little mini story time for you where I found myself in this position where somehow I always ended up with truly the difficult clients that nobody else could handle. And I almost prided myself on it. And I would sort of like take them, even as running a booth rental salon, I would take them because I was like, oh man, this is going to potentially be a bad Google review. Like I'll just handle it, because they would have had maybe a not great experience with another stylist, again, running their own business. But I'm like, this Google review is going to go on my salon. So I take them and I can handle it. And I would be like, look at me, I can handle all these difficult people, blah, blah, blah. And then it wasn't until I was in therapy last year, my therapist is like, yeah, you tend to put yourself in situations just to prove to yourself that you can handle difficult people to make yourself feel better, but that's not actually what you should be doing. I would question you why you feel the need to prove to everybody basically that what type of behavior you're willing to accept. And so when I sold my salon and moved to a suite, I kind of did a cleaning house and said, this is the new standard that we operate at. Very proactive communication, not reactive communication. And we parted ways with a couple of those people that I prided myself on being the only person that could handle them, because like was attracting like with that. I was like, I can handle them. And then they're like, so I'm going to treat you however I want to treat you. And then my therapist was like, we need to circle back.
It's cyclical.
Yeah.
If you are doing that, you're going to continue to do that. If you create a place where you have the rules that you live by and you don't waver from we always circle back to core values. So here we are again. But if you have your values and you aren't willing to stray from those, then you're going to, like you just said, attract over time the people that fit that. And that might take you longer. And I'm not saying get rid of all your clients. I'm not saying if somebody's always 5 or 10 minutes late that you should fire them as a client. I don't think that's cool either. I think we went through a phase where it was like, fire your clients. And once it's monkey see, monkey do on social media with hairdressers and barbers, just like any other industry. Well, ones that are allowed to have Instagram. But it just becomes a cyclical thing. So when you are like, okay, I'm in this as a career, as a professional for the long run, I'm not necessarily worried about today. And I know people need to eat and people need to pay rent, but within reason, if you can look to the future and see, like, if I do this, if I can just attract 6 more people like Lucy, maybe Lucy's your ideal client. If I can attract 6 more Lucys, and that's going to spread out, and I'm going to have all these Lucys to deal with, which is going to make my life amazing. That's going to be in the long run much easier for anybody that's listening. Please, just lay something out on paper. If you don't, again, circling back to what you said, I'm surprised you didn't flip it on your therapist. Like, you lay on this couch now. Now I'm the captain.
I know. But when she said that, I was like, oh man, dang. I hate it when you're right.
Yeah.
Nabbit.
But anyways, if you're always doing the same thing over and over, you're going to continue to do that same thing over and over. So you might as well make it a pleasant experience rather than a frustrated, now I need to post on social media that so-and-so pissed me off. And guess what? Yeah. So-and-so is not even going to see that post. They don't care. They're not checking your social media. And if you're posting your policies on social media and that person was checking it, they would have seen it. So they've either seen it or they don't care. So this person is not like who you're posting for. And I think another thing is it's just off-putting to potential clients to see you complaining on Instagram. I'm not knocking the practice because I think people don't know what to do, so they just follow suit. But there are resources out there. You guys on Schedulicity, you guys have a ton of resources on your blog posts that everything, the information's out there. You just got to be proactive, like you mentioned earlier, Missy, and go through and create the business that you want to create.
Yeah. And when you are having a crappy boundary day, have things in place for yourself or somebody that you can talk to.
I always say phone a friend.
Like, you literally phone a friend.
Yeah.
Like, okay.
Don't turn to social media.
Yes.
No.
Or even you, like, okay, I'm feeling super burnout today. Let's go through why that is. Okay, I was responding at 7:30 in the morning. That's not how I want to go about doing this. So let's, talk to somebody, vent it, get it out. I get the actual chemical release that we need when we're ticked off and we need to vent. Find a way to do it that isn't looking for reaction. And this goes back to just, in my opinion, your marketing 101 for why you would put information out there to begin with. What is the purpose of what you're posting?
Right.
Because if you really look at that, are you really going to think that that's going to gain you clients? Is that post going to gain you clients? That's typically somebody's goal. Is it making your current clients feel valued and supported? Or are we just going on a rant? And if we're going on a rant, let's maybe phone a friend.
Yeah.
Or have a separate private account.
Go create some private Facebook group and go rant in there.
My last thing about the boundaries that I keep on meaning to say this, but we hadn't gotten to, when we're talking about new stylists that have gone independent, please optimize your Instagram bio in any way where clients might come across for proper communication, so that you don't turn out to be like Jen and I. Because when you start out and we don't know better, we didn't have all these tools in our pockets. And I mean, I'm walking around with the paper, scheduler, answering phone calls at freaking Outback Steakhouse with my family, because I need to get that client on the books so that I can make all the monies.
Mm-hmm.
Your blooming onion is getting cold. It's ridiculous. Your margarita is all watered down.
I need to know, I think I was 20, so it's probably a Coke, but whatever.
All right.
But like that, don't, because you don't need to, and you don't need to undo poor behavior. We're having to undo, that
way
whole,
harder to undo it. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, we didn't know smoking cigarettes were bad. We didn't know low fat, like all of the things that our parents are doing. Jen and I are like, don't not have boundaries with your communication. We didn't know it was bad. But that, and you are competing in an arena where there are a vast amount of stylists who are pursuing having their ducks in a row with how to get on their books. And so if your communication is DM to book, I don't want to be negative towards you, but I will say that is most likely not the most long-term effective way to structure your booking policy. So I would challenge you to come up with a more client-centric approach, because that client now had to slide into your DMs and potentially wait for you to get back. Or maybe you have an automated message, but that's 3 more clicks that they have to do.
Right.
Put the book now button in your bio. Make it very clear with how to get on your books. If you don't want the book now button, have a form, have a very clear way of what it looks like to communicate with you.
Absolutely.
There's probably tons of ways to do this, but you could have a, book now for new clients where it prompts a consultation, whether you do it virtually like we're doing here through video, which we did a ton of during the lockdown, or you have your loyal clients that already, they know how to book. So if somebody is, because I know a lot of people that have said, I don't want to switch over to a booking software because everyone will mess up and book the wrong way. And again, that falls on you as a business to educate them.
And there's always going to be a small percentage, but that's not where your focus goes. Most people...
That's fine. Do a consultation. Right?
Yeah, even our new clients that book online, they'll put in the notes, like, if I didn't book this right, like, if you want to call me, like, people are trying to use this...
Well, that's because we're not talking smack to our clients on social media, so they feel like they can contact us.
Like, they're trying to use technology the best that they can, but you're right. You have to have the systems in place so they understand how to book and make it as simple as possible.
Cool.
And if you're an independent, I would say this, or if you're a commission salon, I would encourage you to encourage your stylist to do this. Look over your schedule weekly and daily. Look over it regularly. And if you see something on there and it's the name of a client who you don't recognize and they're booked for something, do a little bit of digging, see if they went through the proper protocol to actually book the proper thing. Right. It's a couple extra steps that are going to save you from potentially needing to make a nasty, feel the desire to make a nasty post. That is one of my biggest pieces of advice, is to just regularly spend time looking at your calendar.
Well, that's being proactive too, right? Like, it's a great way to approach it.
Well, and that's an amazing piece of advice. We've talked about the power of the touch point. So a touch point before your appointment is going to clear up a lot of that stuff. If that person needs to cancel, they're probably going to do it rather than get on the phone with you or whatever and go through that process. They're not going to waste their time. They're not going to waste your time. So
But
Plus,
imagine the difference in the scenario of a client booked the wrong thing because they didn't do the right thing. They didn't fill out the right form. They didn't know what to book. They didn't have the right answer. They booked the wrong thing. I can almost guarantee you that nobody wants to sit in the salon and put yourself in the client's perspective. How embarrassing is that to show this full makeover and you booked for just a face frame foil or whatever that version is, and your stylist says, I don't have time to do that today. That's not a fun experience for the stylist. It's not a fun experience for the client.
Right.
Let's just go all the way there. So what would that have done for your client retention and your customer service if you see somebody on the books and maybe you have a question and then you reach out to them and say, hey, I noticed that you're new here. I just want to make sure we have you down for the right thing. Oh my gosh, you probably just acquired a lifer. You can have them leave with blue hair that they didn't even want, and they're going to love you forever because you took the time to not make them feel dumb.
Absolutely.
Customer service. Amazing. Anything else? Do we have anything else?
No, thanks for my therapy talk.
I know
That was great.
I love it.
I'll let you know how it goes.
I'm next.
Okay, great.
All right.
Well, we'll be chatting again soon, so it's great.
Perfect.
All right. Thanks so much, Missy.
Thank you.
All right. We'll talk soon.
Bye.
All right. Sounds good.
Bye.
Bye.